Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Matt's Model Shop. So we actually have the top of the saucer all painted up and it's actually ready for decals, which is really great. The bottom is 90% there and then it'll be ready for decals. So I thought I'd put it together and check the lighting, and the lighting actually looks really good. So it's actually just sitting on the bottom part of the saucer to give you some reflection inside, but the windows are all really evenly lit. The nav lights are blinking as they should. The strobe on top is just perfect. The impulse crystal isn't lit because the two modes aren't hooked up yet. The warp and impulse mode aren't hooked up yet, but everything else seems to be working just perfect. So this is how we want it to look. I can turn on the light here so you can see my paint work. Boom. And as you can see, we've gotten the bridge all done. It's all painted and ready to roll. I got all the phasers done and the RCS thrusters, which I think I had all those done last time, but I also got all these little gray escape pods done. They're actually just sort of an off-white on the studio model, so I just kind of went with a really light gray on this, but I think they'll look pretty good. It'll kind of give it some extra detail there that keep it from being too plain. But yeah, this part here, other than a couple of odds and ends on the bottom, is ready to put on the secondary hull. So I actually have to focus now on getting the secondary hull finished. I have a few other areas to paint, and then it'll be ready for the saucer. So I'm going to continue with that, and I think I'm going to actually finish painting this up, and then we'll attach the saucer to it, get everything wired up, and then we'll do decals. And I think I've mentioned this before, but the reason being is there's a huge light leak in between the neck and the saucer that you want to take care of, and when you have decals all over it, it's really difficult to touch up the paint. So if you have everything put together, touch up the paint work, and then put the decals on, there's no danger of hurting anything. So I did it the other way last time. You can do it whichever way you feel comfortable with, but I'm going to try it this way and see how it goes. So so far everything looks like it's pretty cool. It's coming right along. It's too bad that I haven't started the nacelles yet. Otherwise, this thing would be pretty close to being done. But I still have to do those, which kind of sucks. But we'll get there. So when I come back, there will be more progress. We'll see where it is, but I shall return. Hello again, everybody. So I kind of went ahead with the putting the saucer on. Actually, this is the lower half of the saucer that's on now. But what I've done is I've attached it using model glue all along this seam here and on the pins, so that should hold it pretty good. My last one I actually epoxied on, and that one will never come apart, but I didn't really think it was necessary on this one, mostly because I was careful with my joint, not getting it full of paint and stuff. So yeah, I'm moving ahead. I also took out the deflector housing and primed it, and dull coated the deflector dish. So that is actually in progress as well. So we're making headway, but I've finished painting the whole secondary hull. I got the little vents painted and the little thingies painted on the lower sensor dome, and my saucer turned out pretty darn good. It's all done. Impulse crystal is in. So once this is complete and mounted, we can start wiring inside of here, and I can get the rec deck and the officer's lounge mounted, and we can start getting this all situated. So I'm really pleased with this. Getting this far is kind of fun. So should be fairly exciting. So more is coming. I'm going to let this cure for a while, and then we'll attack it some more. So I'll be back in a bit. So here we are with the saucer attached. We've got it on the stand here, and I've turned on the lights in the secondary hull. They're not hooked up in the saucer just yet, but everything attached real nice. And here's where we're gonna attach this. This has all of the wiring for impulse mode, warp mode. It has the wiring for solid power and to carry the strobes to the rest of the ship. So this right here is where we'll be attaching all that. Of course, I got to strip away some of the primer so I can see what I'm doing. But earlier I actually set the rest of the saucer on top here just to see how it would look, and yeah, it's looking sort of starshipy. That's pretty neato. So I'm going to go ahead and hook some of this up here, and then we're going to take a look at putting in the rec deck and the officers' lounge here. I might do a little bit more work to the officers' lounge. It's still a little bit simple, so we'll see if we can dress it up a little bit. But yeah, the ship's taking shape. It's kind of neat. So I figured you guys would want to see this. So I'll be back in a few minutes with more. Okay, we're doing a little bit more work inside the saucer here. One of the things that happened was this row of LED tape here, this first section here, decided to get flaky. So these 3 LEDs was started to kind of go in and out. The rest of them stayed fine, but just this one little segment here started to go blah. So I ripped it out and I put in a whole new segment just because. So that'll keep that from happening again. I also put an LED in front of where the rec deck will go. I'm going to stick the lighthouse emitter right underneath, just underneath the rec deck, which lights it up really well, and these light it up on the side really nicely. So I'll have that all lit up. And actually that's it so far. I did put a little cotton in here. I'm also going to dull coat it, or probably satin coat it on the outside to kind of give it that frosted look, but it actually makes it look really kind of glowy, although you can tell it's cotton, but once it's satin coated, it should look pretty good. So my other one does, so I'm hoping this one does too. Otherwise, we're almost ready. I did finish my officer's lounge, and it's not great, but it's passable. You can really see it anyway. I'd put 3 little figures in there, and I did put the silly decals in there where you can see the nacelles even though they're the opposite direction. I put a little flocking on the plants and stuff, and we just made it look a little bit, decent anyway. Like I've said repeatedly, you can go crazy with this or go as light as you want, whatever you want to do. You can only see like a little bit of it through the window, so it's not like you need to go nuts and make it look amazing, because you have to get out a magnifying glass to see anything in there. So I do need to find something to put in for the window, and then we can put the officer's lounge in. Now for the rec deck, one other thing that I did, I had some plastic material I got on an Apple product that they put on the outside, and the top of it was really, it was still flexible, like cellophane or cling wrap it usually is, but rather than being cling wrap, it was sort of a heavy duty flexible plastic. So I cut a little square of it out, and I used that for the window in the rec deck where it's going to go. And it actually, let's see here, there we go. It actually works as a window really nicely. So I will have to be sure to mask that, or else I'll be blasting my window. But yeah, it's actually there's actually a window in there, and I used some canopy glue to glue it down, so it looks really good. And when you drop the rec deck in there, you can really see it. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to work one-handed, but might have to just say forget it. There we go. Why not? There we go. Boom. You can actually see in there pretty nicely. It's upside down, but you get the idea. So I think that's going to be really, really darn cool, being able to do that. I think the windows on the officer's lounge are a little too large to use that, so I'm going to have to find a better method to do that. Probably some blister pack or something, and I can use the kit part as a guide for how big to make it. So, and my saucer is all dried on and looks perfect. I actually got the lower sensor dome lights hooked up, so I do need to start working on the light leak at the neck, and we can re-airbrush all that and make it look nice and pretty. And my deflector housing is out in the garage right now, and I'm currently working on getting it all painted up, and we'll will make it look all purdy as well here pretty quick. So ship's looking really good. I'm really excited. I can't wait to get the saucer glued together and really start making it look like a ship. And then and then we have to start the warp nacelles. Isn't that funny? They haven't even been started. I always tell people this is like 4 models, or 3 models, I guess. You've got your saucer, your secondary hull, and then your 2 warp nacelles. So I sort of treat it as such. It's always treated like it's 3 separate models. So I'm almost done with 2 of them, and I have to start the 3rd. So the nacelles tend to go very quickly, though. They're actually fairly straightforward as far as lighting goes. The worst part I found was getting rid of the seam around them, because the detail is lost when you sand, so you have to be really careful with that. But yeah, so far so good. Looks pretty good. So when we come back, I will have a little bit more done. Hopefully we'll be ready to close this thing up. Be back in a minute. Okay, and we're back, and look where we are. We actually have a ship. Actually, I've soldered the top saucer to the bottom saucer, and I've glued in the officer's lounge, if we can get it to focus. There we go. And I've also put in the recreation deck, and you can see it through the window, although it's a little hard to get your eyes in there. I think the whole idea is to get a little bit of it so that you can kind of, you know, see what's going on. But yeah, everything works perfectly. So the lighting all looks good and everything. All my flashers are working properly. Now, one problem I'm going to have, though, is the light leak. Remember, I masked all the way around so that we'd have a good glue bond. When I'm done, though, I need to go and spray some I'll probably use silver paint just to lightly cover that up, and then I'll have to prime and paint it again just on the edge. But I don't think that'll be too big of a deal to do. Also, the deflector housing is still being worked on out in the paint area, and that's actually starting to take shape nicely, so we're looking really good. So as far as the impulse and warp modes go, right now I've got the impulse mode on, which does the amber impulse crystal and the impulse engines. And then when I switch to warp mode, I have I'll have a switch where I can switch between the two, where this is my yellow lead that goes to the impulse deck. See, it just turned off because I yanked it. And I'll have this blue one be the other side, so when we flip the switch, the other side will light up. And what we'll get is the warp engines and the blue impulse crystal, and not much out of the the impulse engines. So it's actually glowing blue a little bit in there. I might need to do a little bit of blocking, but we get the idea. So all in all, it's looking really sharp, and I can't wait to get this thing closed up. There's a couple more odds and ends I want to do before I do that, and then we will button it up. So I think this is a good place to stop this video. It's been a long time since I've posted one. I had family visit, and then I had a death in the family, and I got sick, and I've already explained all that. So needless to say, I've been a little busy. No time for modeling, so I'm hoping to be able to get back on this thing and really crank it out. I'd like to get it done pretty quickly because there's other projects I'd like to do. So this is a big project. Doing any refit takes a long time, so don't think you'll get one done in a month or two, because they take a ridiculous amount of planning and working. So but yeah, once again, this is just a simple put it together and light it, and I mean, it's starting to look really impressive. So I hope you guys are enjoying this build, and I will be back hopefully sooner rather than later with another video where we'll have the saucer put together and a bunch more done on it. When I can start the nacelles, we can finally get this thing done. Actually, I may put decals on this before I do the nacelles. I don't know. The decals will make it look a lot more done, but the nacelles need to be done too. They both need to be done, so it doesn't really matter which one I do. But I hope you guys are enjoying this, and thanks for watching. I'll be back. it.